Hello, welcome to today's broadcast. I'm Davina. This is Tea with DavChat, and Polity with DavChat, and we're talking about how Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve Bank, has agreed to lower interest rates today, some base points, and this is important because he was withholding a rate drop for ages because I guess the employment rate was growing and they were trying to prevent inflation from increasing, and they were hoping inflation would decrease. They wanted people to spend less money, but the economy under the Biden-Harris administration was doing really well. People were still spending money, jobs were still being created, and they still are, but because the intensity has lowered a little bit, Jerome Powell has lowered interest rates. And it's interesting also because the highest rate of home ownership is actually, I won't go into that because I don't have the facts at my fingertips, but I know homelessness levels are still high and they have to be addressed. And I'm so pleased future President Kamala Harris has some new policies to try and address that by supporting first home ownership with grants. But yes, in the meantime, I just want to draw attention to quickly that Trump is a terrible economic manager who repeatedly threatened Jerome Powell whilst he was in office, as if the executive branch should wield supreme executive power and tell other branches of government and other agencies what to do in order to boost his prospects of re-election. Now, Biden did not instruct Jerome Powell what to do. He's just been waiting and waiting for Jerome Powell to come to this conclusion on his own that it was a good idea to lower interest rates. So thank you. Praise be to the Inflation Reduction Act. It's really achieved for the American people by generating a lot of good paying jobs, supercharging America's manufacturing sector, which is doing really well, unlike in Trump's term in office when his retaliatory trade war that he got into with America's major trading partners caused an increase in the price of imported component parts, and manufacturing sector went into a recession that was being reported on in October of 2019, and that was particularly impacting battleground states. Manufacturing jobs were being lost in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And I have actually, okay, I'll quickly share a headline about that because I do always like to show people some headlines referencing what I'm talking about. Now, this is an article that was published in October 2019, what I'm talking about. It says, manufacturing is now officially in recession despite Trump's vow to boost industry. So I just want to highlight, I wish I had the capacity to do split screen videos. I want to highlight Trump's promises to boost employment in battleground states by supercharging manufacturing. He did the opposite. And it's my personal belief that this directed his COVID concealing pronouncements in the early stages when the pandemic was at its greatest chance of being contained by a powerful country such as the United States, and that Donald Trump deliberately failed that opportunity because he was too busy trying to get a deal with President Xi of China that would boost the manufacturing sector and lift it out of recession. So just to read to you from this article, during President Trump's first 2 years in office, his standing with many voters was buoyed by a surge in manufacturing that helped create millions of jobs and undergirded the whole US economy. But today, and this is remember from October 2019, manufacturing has plunged into recession and is threatening to pull down other sectors, perhaps hitting hardest on supporters in those states that helped put Trump in office. Impeachment may be dominating the news, but the less noticed industrial slump ultimately could pose a greater threat to Trump's re-election. Now, Trump is good at marketing. He understands that your areas of greatest deficit have to be concealed by your greatest efforts to shape the narrative. He's a PR person. He's not a good economic manager, as his 6 bankruptcies illustrate very potently to those with the willpower to actually look at facts in the face and not hide behind ego-boosting white power fluffery that tricks people into trusting Trump. They are fed on the empty calories of pie-in-the-sky promises from a serial grifter, con artist, fraud, sexual abuser of women, and betrayer of American top secrets. So that's that post. Yesterday, my broadcast promised to return to a topic which is very important to me, and that is protecting women from having the best that modern medicine has to offer withheld from them because of ideological fanaticism on the part of people who have been seduced by the empty promises of the pro-life movement, that it promises it's protecting humans, helping humans, encouraging people to value the sanctity of life, etc. And what it's actually encouraging people to do is devalue the sanctity of women's lives, because it becomes a gamble as to whether women can then receive needed care in timely care for all manner of conditions that people don't know. Women often hide their pregnancies in 12 weeks because of the likelihood of early miscarriage, which is as high as 1 in 3 pregnancies. And you just don't hear about it because women won't tell you they're pregnant until the highest likelihood of miscarriage has passed, because God spontaneously aborts one. Oh God, I'm just using an expression, but spontaneous abortion. If you wanted to believe that everything that happens is ordained by God, then you would say, I guess, that God did it. But I'm just going to say, yes, naturally, spontaneous miscarriages are common, particularly in the first 12 weeks. And the medical treatment for abortions that haven't been completed is removal of remaining fetal tissue through a dilation and curettage procedure. It's standard care, and it was offered at a 20-hour delay to Amber Nicole Thurman, who at 28 weeks lost her life. And in the review of the circumstances that led to her death, 10 doctors in the review panel concluded the hospital's behavior had a large factor in that death because they withheld treatment from her. She was in hospital waiting to receive a D&C, and they postponed giving it to her, likely because of some residual cardiac activity from a dying fetus. So it was known that she had taken some abortion medication, and the abortion hadn't proceeded to completion. For women's lives to be put in jeopardy. Anyway, I just want to switch to another woman as well, because we know Amber Nicole Thurman. My tongue went to an older celebrity called Anna Nicole Smith, but Amber Nicole Thurman had a 6-year-old son who has now lost his mother, who's now motherless, and they apparently had a very close relationship, and she loved taking him on excursions to the zoo and to pop-up museums, and said that her conversations with him were a highlight of her life, and was a devoted mother, and had that whole existence taken from her and taken from him by the actions of falsely pious, posturing Republican voters and Republican politicians who crafted legislation to say, oh yes, we'll let there be exceptions for miscarriage. D&C procedures can be conducted as long as there's no cardiac activity. Now the thing is, cardiac activity, early cardiac activity, it's a little electrical activity in a fetus, and when that fetus is dying, it's not fair. It's not fair really at any stage, but especially when the fetus is dying, it is not fair to have women's legal status, their legal right to access timely medical care, put into jeopardy by this false putting on a pedestal of the fetus. We like babies. Most people like babies. We're, as a species, conditioned to like babies, probably in a biological evolutionary sense. In order to survive as a species, we like their big eyes. That's why, look, I'm putting on makeup to, probably as a performative gender thing. Look, I'm a woman, I've got big eyes, but also because we like baby faces as well. We like it when the features are disproportionately big and cutesy, because we need that. We need that in order to, as a species, take care of our infants for a long period of time. It's a long period of time till infants can fully take care of themselves in the human race. Homo sapiens. So let's have a think about this. I wanted to show you another video of a woman who's still alive, but whose health was severely compromised by lack of timely access to reproductive care. So this 2-minute clip opens with John McEntee, a former Trump personnel office staffer. I think was he fired when domestic abuse allegations came out? Let's find out. Why was John McEntee fired? Why was John McEntee fired from the Trump administration? Anyway, now he's involved in Project 2025, but let's find out why he was fired. Originally, if he was fired over financial crimes. Okay. 2018, Donald Trump's longtime personal aide, John McEntee, was fired because he is currently under investigation by the Department of Homeland Security for serious financial crimes. Okay, and he was escorted from the White House. And it was later revealed to be gambling related. Okay, unspecified. So they probably thought that would make him vulnerable to being blackmailed. He failed a security clearance background check, which had found that he was under investigation by the Department of Homeland Security for issues related to gambling. After John Kelly was dismissed in 2018. So he was fired in March 2018, but rehired in December 2018 and named director of the White House Presidential Personnel Office. McEntee played a significant role in the attempt to overturn the 2020 election in the lead up to the January 6th Capitol attack and promoted numerous conspiracy theories about the election. After leaving the White House, he founded The Right Stuff, a dating app for conservatives, and in 2023, he joined Project 2025. So he's a favorite of Donald Trump. Let's listen to him, very important, because he is then spliced with a woman who answers his question.
Can someone track down the women Kamala Harris says are bleeding out in park?
Present. I'm right here. I had a 19-day miscarriage in Idaho because of the abortion regulations. I was turned away not from one ER, but 2 ERs. Technically 3, because I walked into one and they said they wouldn't help me and I had to walk out. On day 8, I went to the 3rd official ER that I got checked into, and I never did receive a DNC. They gave me 1 dose of pain medicine in 19 days. I continued to suffer exponentially for the next 11 days. I blacked out in my hallway due to blood loss. I stopped eating, so my daughter stopped eating. So I had to eat with tears running down my face because it was actually painful to eat because I was in so much pain. Everything hurt. But my daughter needed to eat, so I was not about to make her not eat because I wasn't eating. I developed a heart condition called AFib. It means my heart doesn't work right anymore, and it fucks up. So if I get too excited, too hot, too much in pain, too traumatized, if somebody yells at me too much, my heart fucks up. And so I have to regulate for my heart to keep active. Otherwise, I could have a heart attack and die. I have to deal with these side effects for the rest of my life because of abortion laws. And I can't control other people's actions. I can only control what I can do. But yeah, women are bleeding out in parking lots. I actually have a pinned video of me saying they're going to just let me fucking bleed out here, if you want to refer to that. But I'm present. Hi, my name's Carmen. You can Google Carmen Brewster and find the ABC article, the Insider article. Yeah. You can find a whole bunch. BuzzFeed. But yeah, we exist.
Okay, so that's a hard watch. But I can't hear from Anna Nicole Thurman right now, who had her whole life taken from her. We instead listen to the voice of Carmen Brewster, who now has atrial fibrillation, or AFib for short, that her heart is more vulnerable to disruption if she's overexcited, upset from people yelling at her, or overly hot, and has to be careful to stay within homeostatic range so that she doesn't have a heart attack and die, because things can trigger, I guess, the electrical regulation of her heartbeat. I'm not a doctor, but just from what it sounds like. And she was turned away from 3 different ERs. And I just think it's so important for women to continue to share the news with people who don't realize this, that pregnancy makes women vulnerable, that terminations occur, spontaneous terminations occur all the time, and a proportion of those need medical assistance in order to maximize a woman's chance of surviving. So sure, in the days before modern medicine, if people couldn't do anything about retained fetal tissue, and some women would have just died after miscarrying. Oh, had some children, lost them, marry another woman. But modern medicine exists. Women are not disposable. Women are currently being the collateral damage to the Republican push to get a hype crowd around the idea of being white knights preserving unborn children, when what they're really doing is jeopardizing families, jeopardizing the lives of mothers, women who already have children and who want to survive and be able to live their own life. women without children also deserve to have maximal chances at obtaining medical treatment needed to preserve their life. And the punitive way in which people say, oh, well, I'm pro-life because I think people should have to deal with the consequences of their actions. You're only talking about jeopardizing the bodily health of women, because you're not doing anything to men who may have been reproductively loose, as it were, and acting as if they don't know that many methods of contraception have still failure rates that can occur if you're sexually active. And many men who are sexually active are still saying judgmentally, and women who are sexually active are still saying judgmentally, oh, well, you shouldn't have sex if you don't want to have a child. And if you then fall pregnant, that's the rule that you have to continue with that pregnancy. How dare they? How many people exist in relationships where if you withhold sex from your partner, your relationship will fall apart, literally fall apart? Because I know people be cray, people have lots of different things, and some people could survive in a relationship without, I don't know, mutual gratification of some nature, but a lot of relationships would have crankier, more irritable relationship partners, and then a subset of those more irritable relationships would fall apart, and families and the fabric of society would be harmed. So how dare people, how very dare they say that women should be coerced into continuing with an unwanted pregnancy? And how very extremely dare they cause women to suffer loss of heart functioning, hemorrhaging so painfully for so long without access to timely medical care? How dare they facilitate the theft of a woman's life and the theft of a boy's mother, the theft of a loved, valued human being who had every right, just as much right as a man, to obtain treatment for sepsis, for an infection. But because of residual cardiac activity in a fetus that was not going to be able to survive, both woman and fetus died. I mean, the fetus didn't have a chance of survival, but Amber Nicole Thurman could have lived. And we know from ProPublica's pronouncements that they have details of another woman who also was found to have unnecessarily died as a consequence of doctors having their medical judgment compromised by fear of literal prison sentences. Because in Georgia, they passed a law saying abortion is banned and D&Cs are permitted under the case of self-administered abortions or miscarriages, provided there is no fetal cardiac activity. Provided no cardiac activity has been detected, which constrains a subset of women to risk of death, and obviously has sentenced some women to actual death. If you think of a Venn diagram, there's a subset of the women who have died and a subset of women who've had scar tissue introduced to their fallopian tubes and uterus that will impact their future fertility, that won't be able to conceive in a straightforward fashion anymore. Anyway, I've got to go. That's a hard topic, but thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast and come back again another time. If you did, I usually use the hashtag Polity with DavChat or Polity with Davina. So I hope you can find me. Sometimes I think Elon might be messing with my account. He forced me to pay him $8 a month for the privilege of being able to live broadcast. I hate that. And I hate you, Elon Musk. But, there we go. You're a weird little man who spent $44 billion to mess with, to put your thumb on the scale in favor of Donald Trump so that you could curry favor with him and obtain a position in his administration and probably a pardon for any securities frauds, crimes you have likely committed. I hate you so much for what you're doing, but that's okay. Bad people exist, and it's up to good people, or at least decent people, to be active in ways to help limit the damage and to push forward for what's right. What's right in this case is preserving women's reproductive freedom, calling out those who institute laws that are so reproductively coercive that they cause doctors to feel degraded by the degree to which their medical judgment hands are tied at an intellectual level, and also to save the country from the kind of criminal mismanagement that it suffered under when Donald Trump was in office. Bye.